Every entrepreneur knows the feeling. Things are going well until suddenly they aren't. There's a lot of reasons why that can happen. And today we're talking about one of the real villains in the process of scaling, the moment your pipeline runs dry. We'll also talk about the systems that make sure you never face that moment again. Welcome to the story of scale. Welcome back to the story of scale. We're talking all about how to successfully grow our businesses, but more than anything else, instead of living our life in support of a business at scale, how to make sure we grow a business that is in support of our life so that we can truly live a story worth scaling. And that might sound cool and like a poetic way of saying it, but at the end of the day, it's really what we're all about. How do we live a story that's worth scaling? And yet we also want to get really practical and tactical. And so let's talk about one of the biggest thorns in my side when it comes to needing to scale. And that is, how do we build a pipeline that is constantly full of fresh prospects and leads? We're going to talk marketing.
Oh, this is like
your jam.
I love marketing, but I hate marketing at the same time.
What? I'm shocked to actually hear you say this.
Yeah,
genuinely.
The reason is because marketing is a game that never ends.
It's
There's
true.
Always something more you could do. And looking back, I mean, I would say maybe 50% of marketing I've done hasn't worked. Maybe more, if I'm really honest.
Well, I think that's because anyone who says, I figured out the quote unquote blueprint for marketing is lying to you, because 100%. At the end of the day, all marketing is experimentation.
Yeah.
Always.
And where the marketing world's going today is that what worked for 7 days won't work.
No.
It's like the algorithm is changing so fast. I mean, I literally have a client that we meet with our paid ads person Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're spending $50,000 to $70,000 a month in ad spend. And we literally, like, what worked on Tuesday isn't working on Wednesday.
It's crazy.
And so we're always having to adjust creative, adjusting hooks, angles, it's bonkers. It's not like you used to have an ad and an ad would work for 2 years.
Yeah.
It's just not the game anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know we have a lot of different types of business owners listening in. And so for the business owners out there that maybe the waters get muddied a little bit because they are every department, they are marketing, they are sales, maybe you are also delivery. Let's talk about just briefly the difference between marketing and sales so that we know what we're not talking about in this episode. In my opinion, marketing is marketing, sales is sales. Sometimes they get blended together. Sometimes we use them interchangeably. But what we're talking about is not how do we close the people in the pipeline. That's another whole conversation.
Totally.
That's a sales process. We're talking about how do we make sure the pipeline is full.
Yes.
What would you add to that?
So to me, marketing is getting a prospect or a lead, like it's getting someone into the top of the funnel.
Yep.
And in today's online world, it's everything up until cart purchase. Getting someone into the cart. Then the sales process happens, or to a sales page, you could even argue. I typically like to think of sales as the moment that there is a interaction with a human, but unfortunately that's not always the case, but an interaction with the sales page, and we know who that person is. Because there's a lot of marketing that's putting straight to it, but I would say if we're talking about a pipeline, we want to know who's in our pipe, right? Not just like, oh, we had 300 people visit our website today. But who is those 300 people? Like that, there's part of marketing that's that for sure. When we talk pipeline is, okay, there's 300 people that hit our website today. How do we get 20 of those into our funnel?
Yes.
It's not possible to get 100%. In fact, if you look at website visits, it's less than 1% of people that typically end up in the top of your funnel, which is a really depressing stat.
Yeah.
Used to be way higher 20, 30 years ago. That doesn't happen anymore. But what are the things that we're doing? Branding's part of marketing. Your visual identity, this experience that people have when they experience your brand or come across your brand, that's all marketing. But I think for what we're talking about is how does marketing fill our pipeline?
Yeah.
How do we generate the right type of leads?
Yeah.
And it's crucial that you understand it's the right kind of leads, not sheer number of leads. One of the first questions I ask when someone tells me how many people are on their newsletter list or how many people what do you know about them? Do you know more than their name or their email address? Because if you don't know crap about them. You don't, because they've given you a junk email and they maybe aren't truthful about their name.
Yes.
And so I'm a big believer, if we're capturing forms online, is we need to get bits of information. Depending on the type of business and the type of business that I'm in, I'm serving business owners. I want to know if you're a business owner or not. So easy question, which best describes you? business owner, founder, C-suite, employee, different things like that. So if I'm giving something of value, so when I think of lead generation and we're
Mhm.
giving something online in exchange
Mhm.
for information, you need to provide a tool, a resource that solves someone's pain,
Yeah.
that tickles their ear to say, hey, I want to do XYZ. And so I typically in the online world, it's something that you can solve someone's pain in 10 and 15 minutes. That's why assessments are huge.
Yep.
It's like, hey, how can I, if after 15 minutes, I'm going to know something more about myself? And the whole, purpose along that is this person I'm building trust and authority. If they built this great assessment and they understand this about me, they're going to solve my problem that's specific to that. So, think about it as, coming up with something that can solve someone's pain. I look at StoryBrand, Donald Miller's company that I worked at, and when I look, we were marketing 20. When I say marketing, we were spending money on 20 different lead gens at a time
Yep.
to try to draw in leads, and then we'd measure, hey, how many of those leads are actually converting? And we were probably getting 1,000 leads a day. So talk about a pipeline that doesn't run dry. There's some
Awesome.
businesses that can work off 1,000 leads every 2 years. We were
Yep.
getting 1,000 leads a day.
Yep.
Um, and the number one lead generator was the top 5 things your website needs to do or something like that. I forget.
Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, it was like one of the first lead generators around building a story brand
Sure.
came out.
Yep. I
Don was a
remember it.
client when I had my agency in 2015. I helped run the first ads to it, which is crazy. And it's still the thing. Like Don has changed drastically. He's lost weight. Like we've even updated the video series. That still is super successful. But it, with that product, it was all about messaging, helping people realize how easy it is to get off on your website and your
Yep.
messaging, and like super, super valuable resource. So video series, PDFs are, and I think this is something that I would say that's changing the game in lead generation is, I mean, PDFs don't work anymore, or different things like that. But I think with AI and vibe coding, it's going to be apps. And when I say app, it's not like an app on your phone. It's something that solves one problem.
Yeah.
Because you can go and create, like, so yesterday, I spent 10 minutes, I uploaded a CSV file with all these addresses and said, hey, build this like interactive map with plot points for each of these addresses. And I want between active and inactive, if this client's active, whatever. And it built this thing for me. Previously, it would have taken 3 weeks in a developer. I have no development skills whatsoever. And it's way better than a developer could have done 2 years ago. And so I have another client that we built a waste time calculator. She's in the B2B space. She created something, she spent 10 grand on it. It was horrible. I spent 2 hours one night, did it, and it was like, it blew her mind. And I have no development skills whatsoever, but that's the future. Is spinning up, I would say, spinning up apps, like using something like Replit, or I use Lovable. And vibe coding is basically just like, hey, create this. This is what I like.
Yeah.
And I don't know why the name vibe coding came out, but it is what it is.
Full transparency, I had to Google it a few weeks ago because I texted you one night. And you're like, "Oh, dude, I've been up late vibe coding." I was like, "Okay, I'm too embarrassed about how uncool I am. I'm gonna have to like go in secret, be like, what is vibe coding?"
Yeah. It's like my favorite hobby right now, but I think it's like, I shouldn't say favorite, but I think it's the future of generating leads. I really do. This wasn't where we were going with this episode as we
Yeah.
kind of started the conversation, but I've shared that with multiple people, and where I see that is like, how do you create an app? 'Cause I think it's what's so important is by doing that, you're asking the question is, what is the thing that we can create that will solve a problem for our like target customer,
Mhm.
that will build trust, that will build authority in a really fast way that they can take action on. And then we get their information, and then we can walk them through our funnel. Do we need to nurture? Do we need to sell? And, I've got a whole lot of thoughts around all of that. That's like way more in depth.
Sure.
But as far as getting those leads in, and then giving us the ability to nurture them, and nothing more than I like just having a newsletter with the first name and last like email is like, you know nothing about your customer at that point.
Yes. So to your point, I guess three things that are popping up for me that might also be helpful to you all listening in. One, I still remember the time that you looked at an event registration page that I was doing. It's probably like 5 years ago. I think it was SoloCon. Um, and you're like, why are you just asking name and email? And I was like, well, it's a virtual event. And I was in like old school webinar funnel mode.
Yep.
I'm like, I never used to ask for more than name and email for any lead magnet opt-in. And you were like, well, learn about your leads. And so we started asking the business owner question, like how you identify. And then we asked a revenue bracket question. And then we started saving that data in our CRM. And that made all the difference in the world in our pipeline, because we would go from, getting 5,000 people registered for an event to knowing, well, gosh, these 500 people are actually our ideal clients.
Totally.
These are already pre-qualified financially
Yep.
as prospects. And so I would just bring that back to the surface for everyone listening in. Gosh, like take Chad's advice here. Ask what data you actually want to collect so that you can segment. I actually just had a flashback of probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where I had you come over and spend a day with our team, our little tiny microscopic team at my house. And it was the first epiphany I ever had about segmentation. You're like, well, Harris, what's happening is you're getting, 350 booking inquiries a year through your website organically without any paid marketing. And they're filling out this generic booking inquiry and you don't know who they are. Because at the time I was getting booked by corporations to speak at events.
Yep.
I was getting booked by churches to come speak at an event. I was getting booked by like conference organizers and event planners, meeting planners. And I couldn't even stick them in their own unique automation throughout the rest of the funnel to nurture them and get them ready to buy a certain thing, so that when I finally did the sales call, they were nurtured and ready to buy because I wasn't segmenting. So that's thing number one: segment, collect the data, take what Chad's talking about here and apply.
And I would say one thing to that, what people are going to tell you is the more fields I ask for, the less people fill out. Your conversion rate goes down. It's not true. I could give you data after data of clients. The conversion rate sometimes goes up because they feel like you're going to give them customized content based on the information. And if your conversion rate goes down, it means they didn't really want the things.
Exactly.
If you're giving them something of value, they will give you,
Yes.
Maybe their social security number. It's that valuable. Just kidding, but to that point.
Yeah. To your point, there are times where when someone asks for a phone number, I put in a fake phone number.
Yep.
And I'm just like, well, one would say, well, I put in my fake phone number, so clearly what you're talking about isn't working. No, I'm actually disqualifying myself as a prospect because I have no intention of ever buying from that person. And so they don't even need my real phone number. It's not even valuable to them anyway because I'm proving your point. Yeah. So ask for the stuff, collect the data. The second thing I'd say is we've got to find a way to get, if we want our pipeline to always be full, then we've got to find something that is truly evergreen. And that might sound like common sense. And you're like, yeah, duh, Harris. But at the end of the day, my background, before I truly was trying to scale, I was in the events business. And so part of what made it difficult to scale is that my marketing wasn't evergreen. Even now, there are parts of my business right now that makes it difficult to scale because it is feast or famine based on an annual event, right? Like all of our sales cycles for selling coaching and consulting to freelancers and solopreneurs that are trying to scale and become more scalable entrepreneurs used to be around one event called SoloCon. And that annual event, it was like, oh, are we going to make it? We did it. Oh, no. We came up like 20 clients short. What do we do? I guess we got to wait for a year from now. So I'm excited about some of the stuff that you're talking about because I don't think the solution is to let the pendulum swing from the effectiveness that you can have by letting an event drive a sales cycle, but then just pivot to like, here's my white paper in the form of a PDF.
Totally.
There's some things that we can do that are valuable year round. Talk about evergreen for a second.
And depending who your ideal customer is, you have to know what do they prefer to consume.
Yeah.
There are still certain markets that webinars are great strategies.
We still use them
Most,
very effectively.
I would say most are, but there are some verticals where it doesn't make sense. And if you have global customers and time zones are challenges, webinars can be challenging. But if you're, an info product business or you're even a SaaS business, things of that nature, like webinars are the best way to build trust and authority really fast and make your offer. And people will make a decision. Webinars convert, it's 50 times better than email. I was sitting with, it's like, he's rolling out a $500 downsell product after his launch this year. And he was thinking about selling it only via email. And I was like, well, you're not going to hit your goals. I was like, you've created the product.
Yep.
You might as well do the work. You could try to sell via email and kind of swoop up the real interested buyers that didn't buy the $3,000 program.
Yep.
But there's all these other people that, and so do a monthly webinar, swoop them up, think through that. But it's always having something that people can go to that adds value, that solves an initial problem before the product. And I mean, I think of, when you look at realtors, we talked about realtors last episode. It's like, how can you give information to someone that they don't have themselves? There's so much stuff that's public, like right now, there's been a couple people that popped into my feed, real estate agents that were like telling me like vibey spots in town around Christmas. It's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I found, oh, this is a realtor. I'm like, oh, I would have never known this realtor otherwise.
Yeah.
Like something like that's marketing.
That's
granted, they don't know who I am yet.
Yeah.
But I know about them, and it's starting to kind of build that trust. And it's like, oh, this person, they're engaging on Instagram. They're, like tells me something about who they are, that they're trying to hit kind of an edgier buyer.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the third thing that I was thinking of earlier is you've got to think on a longer time horizon if you want your pipeline to always be full, right? And what I mean by that is this example of the realtor that you're talking about is perfect because they may not be disappointed that you don't need a real estate agent right now, but they know I've got a strong hook around the holidays that's going to get people into my audience at least. And even if they're not activated through a hand raise and they're part of my active sales pipeline, they're in my world, which means marketing has done its job and now they're being nurtured.
Totally.
And so even if you don't need an agent until 2 years from now, marketing did its job to prepare them for sales later on.
100%.
And I think that longer time horizon will help you accomplish what we're talking about, which is always having a pipeline full versus the feast and famine of like, we're doing this annual event or we get our leads at trade shows and we go to these 3 a year. It's like, what do you do in between? What else can you do to get people in your pipeline, even if they don't buy from you 6 to 2 years?
I think gone is the day. I mean, I think you hit a nail on the head there that like some part of your marketing is really long-term.
Yeah.
It's why commercials exist, Coca-Cola and it's like someone's not going and buying right then and there.
Right.
Too many times in our online world, it's like, I'm going to spend $2 per lead. I need that person to buy in 14 days. Otherwise that marketing dollar was useless. It's like, and we forget that like they can buy 6, 9, 10 months from now.
Oh, dude.
But we want that. And I get paid a lot of money to help people convert that lead as quick as possible.
Yes.
Sure, that's our battle. That's the first battle we got to win. But the war is actually converting them at some point.
I'm trying really hard to not rant right now, but one of the biggest things I rant about all the time is our obsession with short-term ROAS.
Yeah.
Because, everyone
return
loves
on ad spend. Those ROAS, return on ad spend.
Yeah. Like we obsess over like, hey, what was your return on ad spend of that campaign? And I'm like, ask me again in 2 years. I don't know. We can talk about immediate return on ad spend for like that particular campaign and what it led to in sales for the first 60 days. But the return on ad spend is going to continue 2 years from now, 5 years from now.
Let me share a story as to how we really scaled Full Focus. When we were a $10 million company, and when we launched the planner and we had a coaching program, it started out at 10 grand and then it went to 20 and then it was a $45,000 program. And we started spending money on the planner, and we knew how many people would convert because we had this information. We got people's phone numbers. So we would identify someone as a sales qualified lead. They came in, they bought the planner, and then they filled out a form because they wanted additional resources. And at that point, we were getting hundreds a day, doing that. And if they were a business owner that was doing at least $1 million in revenue and we had their phone number, they would become a sales qualified lead. And our sales team would then follow up to try to get them on the phone to talk to them. And it was just like, hey, my name's Chad. I'm with Full Focus. I just want you to be aware of all the products we have to offer you to help you boom, boom, boom. And then schedule a 15-minute call and then try to qualify them for the coaching program. And we were willing to spend, because we knew the conversion rate, we were willing to spend $500 to acquire a planner customer, which is a $40 product, because we'd sell a percentage of people to a $45,000 product.
Yeah.
And that was how we scaled the business, was that right there. And we knew our numbers. This is a whole other thing, is like, if you're really like, we got to that
I would say
point.
the average business owner doesn't know their numbers well enough to do that, or they can't stomach the upfront
Totally.
risk.
And we were at a place where we did. I mean, that's not a tactic we would have done when we were 2 million. That was a tactic when we were at between 10 and 15 looking to get to 30. And so it's, and we were willing, it's like we kind of knew over 6 months that it would play out.
Yeah.
And it never got to the point where we had to spend $500 to acquire a planner customer. We were willing to. That was the metric we told our ad agency, you can spend up to $500 to acquire a planner customer. I think it never got more than 200. But that was what our numbers were.
That's incredible. Are you familiar with Dean Jackson?
Yeah.
One of the things I love from him, he calls it the buyer's readiness matrix. And the basic breakdown is that of, let's say, every 100 leads that fall into your pipeline, half of them are never going to buy from you. They're non-buyers. So let's just get rid of those 50, right? Of the remaining half, he would say that 20% are now buyers and 80% are later buyers. And so the 20% that are now, those are the people that show up in all of our ROAS reports.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, we got these buyers. What we forget about is those later buyers aren't going to buy from us for 3 months, 6 months, maybe even 2 years. And we forget about nurturing those people. And so I think if we were to try to bring this concept to a close, it's one, get out of the feast and famine cycles of the way in which most people do their marketing and get into a way of thinking about how do I take a more evergreen approach to building my audience year round. Recognize that you need to activate those buyers differently at different stages on different timelines. And the return on investment is going to come from
I would say know your numbers is important no matter what size you are, is to understand, okay, how many leads, we would obsess in our goal setting at Hyatt when we would grow is how many leads do we need next year? How do we need 10,000? Do we need 30,000? And we reverse engineer from our data from the prior year.
Yes.
And why that did is because that allowed us to then say, okay, what do we need to do marketing wise?
Correct.
How much do we need to spend?
Correct.
Whereas a lot of times we let's just go do this, this, and this.
Correct.
And we don't know if it's actually effective.
Correct.
But if you can get clear, I'm working with a client right now, they need 60 leads this year.
Yep.
It will be double what they've ever done before, 60 qualified leads. And if we get them 60 leads, we're going to look like freaking heroes. And we're going to.
Yes.
Because we got really clear on that's the number.
Yes.
Previous agencies were trying to do all these things to get them hundreds of leads.
Yeah.
No, we need 60 like this, which then we got really laser focused on all the ideas. And this is the thing was we could sit here and talk through how do we get to those ideas. But if you don't know that, you can't get there.
So good.
I get lit up about this stuff.
I'm going to go ahead and call it that this isn't a one-time conversation.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the story of scale and all the different things that requires. And that doesn't mean that, hiring the right person, firing the right person, raising your prices aren't important. It's just all important. And it's just reminding me of how difficult it is to scale a business.
Of being a business owner, you have to be good at all of these at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not like once you're good at hiring, once you're good at, it's like, no, you have to be good at all this at the same freaking time. And it's overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is why you've got to not do it in isolation.
Yeah.
You guys. And one of the ways that you're doing that is getting out of isolation just by the way you're engaging with this content, listening to these ideas. All right. This has been awesome. This is definitely a to be continued episode for sure. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback. What are you liking? What are you not liking? We're grown men. We can handle it.
Puddin can handle it.
Oh gosh, that can't become a recurring thing. We're going to have to try to edit that part out or something. We appreciate you listening. We're open to your feedback. Shoot us an email. Let us know what you're liking, what you want to hear more of here on the Story of Scale podcast. At the end of the day, we hope that you're feeling fired up from these conversations, that you're not just getting practical takeaways that you can go implement on, but really that you're feeling inspired to live a story that is truly worth scaling. So thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with another amazing episode right here on the Story of Scale.
The Story of Scale podcast is a production of the Astoria Studio, recorded on location in Chattanooga, Tennessee at Socially You Studios. For more resources on how to not only scale your business, but live a story worth scaling, visit astoria.com/scale.